What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my Aglaea pre-release guide. Aglaea is a lightning DPS character and one of the more unconventional ones because her speed fluctuates constantly and she relies a lot on her ult to be effective. In this video, I will address most of the common questions in regards to Aglaea's build, Lycon options, and more in-depth discussions like her speed tuning and energy requirements. Finishing it off with the team comps and character synergies depending on what you have on your account. So if you enjoy this type of content, let me know by liking the video, leaving a comment in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. I don't want to spend too much time explaining and reviewing her kit. There are going to be other guides from other content creators that are going to read this verbatim to you. So if that's what you're looking for, this is not it. I'm just going to glance over it real quick. But in a nutshell, Aglaea and Garment are going to gang up on enemies and attack pretty much conjointly. Garment Maker is Aglaea's memo sprite or her summon, and there are three ways to summon Garment Maker. The first one is using her technique before battle, and the other two are either using her Aglaea's skill or ultimate. If Garment Maker is already summoned, using the skill or the ultimate will heal them instead. While she's in this state, she can no longer use her skill, and she gets access to her enhanced basic attack, which is her massive damage attack. This enhanced basic attack is also a joint attack between Garment Maker and Aglaea, and this counts as two different attacks. Also, while being in this state, her speed increases based on how many seam stitch stacks you have accumulated. And what are these seam stitch stacks? Well, whenever Aglaea attacks any enemy, she will apply seam stitch to that enemy. And then whenever Garment Maker attacks that same enemy, it will gain one stack. Each of these stacks will increase both Aglaea's and Garment Maker's speed by quite a lot. Aglaea's speed increase reaches about 90%, and Garment Maker can easily reach speeds of over 300. Also in the Supreme State, Aglaea and Garment Maker both get a massive attack increase, which is the reason why you don't really want to run any attack percent main stats on any of your relics if possible. Your main goal is to keep Aglaea within the Supreme State for as long as possible, which makes this a great segue to talk about how to build her. However, before we move on, let's talk about her talent priority upgrades, and you mainly want to focus on your basic attack first because this is where she gets the most of her damage, followed by her ultimate. After that, you should focus on the memo sprite's basic and talent, and then obviously the skill is last, and you can honestly leave that at 1 if you want. You don't have to upgrade it because all that does is summon the memo sprite and heal it for a certain amount of HP. So it's actually not that important. Let's talk about how to build Aglaea. She has a bunch of different options that you can choose from. If you don't have good stats in one set, you can probably use another set, and the difference isn't that great. So a good thing is that she has a lot of options. As far as 4-piece relic sets, she really has 2 options here, and both are very good for different reasons. And if you don't have any good ones from those two, there's also other combinations you can do that doesn't require a 4-piece stack. Her best in slot is the new hero set, which is the memo sprite set that we just got in this 3.0 patch. It is her best in slot by about 4%. So like I said before, the difference isn't that much, and this overall helps her to mitigate running a crit rate chest, which is what I'm going to recommend. Her second best option is going to be the OG Musketeer set. It has the same 12% attack and 60% speed as the hero set, but you can get a decent 10% basic attack damage boost instead of the 30% crit damage, which isn't as good, but it's still pretty decent. This set being good on Aglaea is very good because you probably have grinded this set since the beginning of the game, so you are more likely to have better pieces of the Musketeer set because it's literally the first set available for you to grind. So if you have a Musketeer set with way better stats than a hero set, then probably just run that one because you're probably going to offset the 4% by just having better stats in the subs. Also, if you don't have either of the Musketeer or the hero set, you can also offer a 2-piece messenger in a 2-piece Deserto for the 12% speed added onto it, which is also a good little alternative if you have better pieces of those. As far as planar sets, all of the viable options that Aglaea has are very close to each other when it comes to performance. The sets in order of effectiveness are the Banana Amusement, which is the best in slot and is also the newest set, followed by the Glamoth, which is actually very good because she gets way more than 160 speed really easily, followed by the Rudolent Arena, which helps you with your crit rate and gives you a little bit of basic attack damage as well. And lastly, you can also run the iSUMMON if you are running her with RMC, which is one of her best teammates. So all of these options are within 2% of each other when it comes to effectiveness, so just pick whichever one is the best for you. It really doesn't matter that much. What matters more is going to be the substats you have on those particular pieces. Starting with the chest, you really want to make sure that you don't miss any crits. So for this, we're going to have to take into consideration what support characters you are going to be using with Aglaea. For example, if you are going to run Aglaea with Sunday, he provides you 20% crit rate, so your crit rate threshold is going to be lower. I would say if you're going to run Sunday, run with 75% crit rate on Aglaea. If you're going to run with RMC, I would say about 85. And if you're going to run both, I would say you can get away with running at 65% crit rate on your Aglaea if you are going to run both RMC and Sunday. Now, if you can meet those crit rate requirements without the chest, then you can run the crit damage chest instead. But otherwise, I would stick to the crit rate chest because it's going to be overall more consistent. For obvious reasons, boots is going to be speed because you want Aglaea to be as fast as possible, because once you enter the supreme state, you want to outspeed the little marker or the little ticker, which has 100 speed. So the more speed you have, the more times you're going to go within that time frame. There are different thresholds for different types of teams and for different characters, and there's practically too many to account for in this video. So just a general rule of thumb, just get as close to 160 speed with your Aglaea as you possibly can. This will ensure that you always get close to max effectiveness no matter what supports you're using with your Aglaea team. Orb, you really want Lightning Orb here. I wish I could say Attack Orb is fine here, but Lightning Orb is pretty much a must. If you have one Lightning Orb with even one usable substat, I think it's going to be better than just running an Attack Orb, because she gets so much attack on her own kit already that any attack from other sources is just going to be extra. It's barely going to make any difference anyway. So if you have a Lightning Orb with either crit damage or crit rate or speed and crit rate or whatever, just use that one. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure it's a Lightning Orb. And if you don't have one, then just create one real quick. Whatever comes out, use that one. Now, the robe has a little bit of nuance in it, but I think I can simplify it for you like this. You always want energy regen rope unless you're going for the E1. And even if you're going for the E1, you still might want to run energy recharge rope, because even when you get kills, you are more likely to get your ultimate much faster, and staying in the ultimate state or the supreme state is going to be the #1 priority for you. So if running an energy regen rope is going to let you or allow you to stay in your ultimate for an extra turn, enough for you to ult one more time, that it's going to be worth it. At the end, you're going to deal more damage. Losing that supreme state for one time can equal you losing out on one cycle. It's that important. So staying in the supreme state is the #1 priority for Aglaea. Just keep that in the back of your head. The only exception to running an attack rope is if obviously you have the E1, and if you can maintain 100% uptime with characters like Sunday, Huohuo, and Ting Yun, or a combination of those three, or even those three in particular, all of them battery Aglaea up. So you can use all three, and if you can maintain 100% uptime on it, then you can use an attack rope instead. As you could probably guess, the substat priority is going to be speed until you get to 160, then crit rate, then crit damage, and then finally attack. Moving on to Lycons, I already made a video covering all the Lycon options and which ones are the best and why in great detail. So if you want, you can go ahead and check that video out somewhere over here or over there, one of those two places. I'm going to put a little card. You can click on it, watch the video. It goes over the E1 and it goes over the S1, which one to pick, what Lycons to pick. It goes over all of that. It's a great video. Go watch it. But TLDR, her signature Lycon is definitely going to be the best in slot for her by about 15% when compared to a 3-star Remembrance Lycon. Yeah, you heard me right. A 3-star Remembrance Lycon is actually very, very good. That is the Reminiscence Lycon, is a 3-star that you probably have if you're going to pull for Aglaea, or if you have pulled since 3.0 came out, you probably have a few copies of that Lycon laying around. Also, we have a 5-star Her to Shop Lycon from Remembrance Path. That is going to give her 12% speed, which is also very, very good. So if you are lacking a little bit in the speed department, you can actually get that Lycon when it comes out and fix your speed issues with that Lycon. However, if you want to invest a little bit into Aglaea's Lycon situation, but not enough to get a Lycon, a signature Lycon, you may want to go for the Battle Pass Lycon. It's the one that I'm going to go for personally. It helps you with crit rate. It gives you a little bit of a damage bonus. So it's actually really, really good. Again, if you want to get more in-depth information on Lycons and E1 and stuff and Eidolons, click the video that I put up. You won't regret it if you're going to build Aglaea. Let's talk about her teams and the synergies. Aglaea wants energy and speed, so any character that provides one or both of those things is going to be a very, very good partner for Aglaea. Disclaimer, action advance, I see it as a form of speed, okay? So kill me. Naturally, her best teammate is going to be Sunday for many reasons, but the main reason are the energy gain, which for Aglaea, Sunday gives 70 energy, which is an insane amount of energy. and the action advance he provides for her and Garment Maker. A similar character to Sunday, 4-star Ting can also be very good. You get 60 energy instead of 70. You also get up to 56% damage bonus. You get some attack, and also you get 1 turn speed buff when using Ting Yun's ult. And also, if you run Dance 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 on Ting Yun, you also have an action advance going on. So Ting Yun, 4-star Ting Yun, actually very, very strong for Aglaea. It's kind of like a budget Sunday. So for those of you who don't have Sunday, she's kind of like a budget Sunday. Similarly, Hua is going to be her best sustain, because obviously the energy gain for the whole team helps battery RMC, helps battery Ting Yun, helps battery Sunday, helps battery Aglaea, pretty much helps everyone fire ultimates more often. And yeah, that's pretty much all you care about. Another fantastic and frankly very, very strong option is going to be RMC. You pretty much get extra damage via true damage, and you get close to about 50% true damage, which is actually insane. My only downside of this running mem or running RMC with Aglaea is that Aglaea is so fast that her true damage buff actually doesn't last very long. It just, you can use it for 2 attacks and that's it. It takes a little bit to get it back. However, it's still really, really good. The action advance is insane. Extra damage, extra energy, that's pretty good. It's really, really good. RMC is insanely strong. But essentially, Aglaea team will look the same with Sunday plus Hua if you have them. If you don't have one of them, then you're going to substitute Ting Yun or RMC to fill in the spot. If I had to pick one team to run with Aglaea, which is probably going to be the team that I'm going to be running with Aglaea, is going to be Aglaea, Sunday, Hua, and I'll just figure out a second damage amplifier depending on the stage. It could be Zhao Xiao, it could be Pella, it could be RMC, it could be Ting Yun, Ruan Mei, Robin, and in the future, Tribi. So you don't have to be stuck to one specific team comp. The only one that has really no real replacement is going to be Sunday, but like I said, Ting Yun can kind of fill in the gaps. If you run Ting Yun, Hua, and RMC, for example, you can possibly get away with a really good clear time without Sunday. As I said before, I already covered the Eidolons and how much specific damage amplification you get from each Eidolon in the previous video, so make sure you go check it out. But in a quick rundown, the E1 is by far the best upgrade you can get for Aglaea aside from Sunday. So without Sunday, if you don't have Sunday and you get E1, you're looking to increase your Aglaea's overall performance by about 80%. Yes, 80% overall performance increase just by getting the E1. And if you do have Sunday, your overall performance is going to increase by about 65% overall. This Eidolon essentially triples her energy gain, making her have 100% uptime on her supreme stance, and essentially just skyrocketing your damage. Oh, and I forgot, it also adds a 15% vulnerability on the enemy with Steam Stitch, which by itself is already better than the signature light cone. Her E2 adds up to 42% defense shred, which is really good. E4 makes stacking much easier and increases the limit of the stacks by 1. And the E6 gives Aglaea and the Garment Maker 20% rest pen and up to 60% bonus damage on their joint attack. So if you are going to look into vertically investing in your Aglaea, the E1 is by far the single greatest upgrade. It's going from E0 to E1 is a better upgrade than going from E4 to E6. Just keep that in mind. It's such a good Eidolon. So if you are going to vertically invest in Aglaea, just get the E1. You don't need anything else. You can run her with a 3-star light cone. Overall, she's looking like a really strong DPS who is very easy to build and has a lot of good light cone options. You don't have to stress too much about it. Although she is competing with Acheron for a lightning DPS, slot, which makes it a little bit harder to justify pulling for her, she is pretty much brand new, so more supports are going to come out that make her better and buff her up a little bit more in the future. So maybe at some point she will take the crown for best lightning DPS. That's going to be the end of my Aglaea pre-release guide. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you are going to pull for Aglaea, if not, who are you going to pull for? Leave it in the comment section. And until next time, guys, see ya.